Hello guys, welcome to all of you in Code T Point. My name is Amit and today we are going to continue with Python learning series. In this tutorial, we are going to cover string functions. In the previous class, we have already covered string operations and we have covered some of the operations which is related to strings. In today's agenda, we will go through the string functions and we will see that is how we can apply those functions for the strings. As you can see over the screen, there are some common used functions which can be applied to the strings and we can use those functions very frequently. So today we are going to use those functions which can be used into our programming and which can be used very frequently when we start building the projects and the subsequent class. So let's go and start using these functions. So let's go to the Jupyter Notebook. And in Jupyter Notebook, I will use the first function, which is length, count, find, and index. So I'm just copying this one and then I'm going to paste it over here. So first, I'm going to start with these basic functions. So let's say I'm going to use the string is Python. Correct? Right? In this case, we can use length function. So length of A will return us like 6, which means the number of the characters inside this string, right? Similarly, if I'm going to take another string, let's say I'm going to take New Delhi, and if I'm going to take length of B, in this case, what we'll get? We'll get 9. So that means how many characters are there? So 1, 2, 3, space 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So it includes space as well as. If I'm going to remove this one, let's say, and if I'm going to use, it is 8, right? Next is count. So let's say in this case, what I'm going to do is count function. So a dot, let's say I'm using count, and inside the count, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the A. So let's say I'm going to check that is A is inside this string or not. So what we are getting? 0, because A is not into this string, right? Similarly for that, let's say I'm going to use P. So what we'll get? We'll get 1. So it is count is nothing but it's a give us the frequency count, or you can say the occurrence of this letter, right? Next is find. So let's say I'm going to use A dot find, and in that case I'm going to use, let's say I'm going to use O. In this case, what we are getting? O, we are getting 4. So what is meaning of 4? 4 is nothing but a indexing positions. So it starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So find will return us the indexing value of particular characters, right? Indexing value of those elements. Let's say I'm going to use b.find, and in this case, let's say I'm going to use I. Correct? So what we will get? 8. So that means this I is into 8 indexing positions. So let's say we are going to use X. In this case, what will happen? If this character is not inside the string, it will return us -1. Okay, let's go to the index. So let's say I'm going to use a dot index, and this time again I'm going to use O. Again it will return us 4, and for b dot index, let's say in this case I'm going to use D. So it will return us 4. So what is the difference between find and index? So let me show you that is. In this case, if the particular character is not available into the string, index will return us an error. But in case of find, if the character is not available, it will return us -1, right? So this is the difference, guys. Okay, so this is all about length, count, find, and index. So let's go to the next part. Next is string case manipulation, which is upper, lower, capitalize, and swap case. So let me copy this one, and I'm going to put it over here. Sorry, I'm just copying it over here and putting it over here. Correct? So let me do it once again. Let me this time take the example. Let's say I'm going to use Kolkata. All right. And what I'm going to use, a dot upper. Correct? So what we will get? It will convert the string characters into the uppercase. All right. So that means every letters inside this string will be converted into the uppercase. For example, a dot lower. So what we will get? We will get this string into the lowercase, including the first character which is into the uppercase. It will also convert into the lowercase. Correct? Capitalize. So let's say I'm going to use a dot capitalize, right? So what will happen? It is converting the first letter of the word into the capitalized forms. So let me do it one thing. Let me take another example. For example, I am going to take Mumbai. And in this case, if I am going to use capitalize, so b dot capitalize. So what will happen? It will convert the first letter of this string into the capital or uppercase, right? Next, I'm going to use title. So let's say b dot title. And in this case, what will happen? It is also converting the first letter of the word into the capital. Now, what is the difference between this capitalize and the title? So let me take another example. Let's say I'm going to use Mumbai is the financial capital of India. Correct? And this time I'm going to use capitalize and title both. So a dot capitalize, in this case, it is going to convert the first letter of this entire sentence, or you can say the first word of this entire statement, and from this first word, it is converting the first letter of that word into the uppercase, and rest of the word is remaining same. Sorry. Correct? Let me use a dot title. Correct? In this case, what will happen? It is going to convert every single word, the first character of every single word into the uppercase. So for this word Mumbai, the first word is converted into the uppercase, is also converting the first character like I into the uppercase, and so on. So this is the difference between capitalize and title. So let's say I'm going to use next is swap case. So a dot swap case, right? So what will happen? In this case, it will be converting the all the letters into the uppercase, right? It will convert all the letters into the uppercase. So this is all about upper, lower, capitalized, little and swap case. So let's go to the next part. Checking string contents. So let me copy this part. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to take a string. Let's say this time I'm going to use, let's say I'm going to take let's say Karnataka, correct? Or maybe Karnataka. Let's say this is one of the state of India. Let's say Karnataka. And if I'm going to use a dot is alpha, that means it is going to check that is this string into the alphabetically. So it is going to check that is alpha. That means it is checking the string is into the alphabetic characters or not. So is alpha, and what we will return? Sorry. A. Okay. 1 second. Is alpha. Okay. Okay. So that means it will return us true. That means this is into the alphabetic characters. Similarly, if I'm going to use is di digit, and in this case, what we will get? Digits. It should be digits, I think. Right. Okay. So let me a dot. Okay. It is digit, correct? And in this case, it will show that false. So that means inside this string there is a no any digits. So that means no any number inside this string, and that is what we are getting false, right? Third is alphanumeric. So I'm going to use a dot is alphanumeric. In this case, what will happen? It will return us true because it's a portion of this. You can say that is the string is a completely in alphabetic orders. So alphanumerics is a combination of alphabetically and numbers, but here it is alphabetic is already there. So that is why it is returning us true. So either of them will be there, it will return us true. So let's say if I'm going to use Karnataka 005, in this case, still we will get the true, right? Next is space, right? So let's say I'm going to use, let's say this time I'm going to use, for example, I'm going to use Goa, and this time b dot is space. So what it is returning us? False. So why it is returning us false? Since from this one letter entirely it is getting, even though it is a space inside there, it is, so it is returning us false. Let me show you. 1 second. And is space means that is, it is going to check that is the space is inside this string or not. So let me introduce the space. And in this case, what we are getting is space is false. Is space is false. Why we are getting is space is false? one second, b dot, okay, okay. So return true if the string is a white space string, false otherwise. Okay. So it is looking for the completely a blank string. Then in case it will return us true, else it will return us false. And that is why we are getting a false over here. Correct? So next is lower. So this time b dot is lower. So what is it is? You can say is lower. So it means you can check that is what is meaning of is lower. It is in lowercase or not. So that means this is not in lowercase. So let me do it one thing. This time I am going to put Goa and it is returning as true. Correct? So this is what is a lowercase. Is uppercase. So let's say b dot, sorry, b dot, sorry, is upper. Correct? And in that case, it will return us false. So in this case, return true if the string is uppercase string, otherwise false. So that means that if the entire string into the uppercase, then it will return us true. So let me show you. Let's say I'm going to use B Goa, and in that case, it will return us true, right? So this is what, like, is alpha, is digits, is alphanumerics, is a space, is lower, and is upper, right? So let's go to the next part. Next is string modifications. So inside this string modifications, there are strip, L strip, R strip, and replace. So let's go. Let me copy this part and go back to here. Correct? So strip means, like, let's say in this case, what I'm going to take, A is equal to, what I'm going to do, let's say I'm going to use Mumbai, A dot strip. Correct? So what we are getting, strip means, let's say you would like to understand these functions, just put your cursor and press shift and tab. Return a copy of a string with leading and trailing white space removed, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create a space. I'm going to introduce this space at leading and the trailing space, right? So now a dot strip, what it will does, it will remove the leading and the trailing space of the string, and it will return us Mumbai, right? So let's say in this case, the second case, second scenario, I'm going to take it, just copy this one, putting it over here. And this time what I'm going to do is, instead of leading space, I'm just creating the trailing space. And now I'm going to use a dot strip. So again, in that case, we will return Mumbai. Correct? L strip means, let's say I'm going to use a dot L strip. Correct? And in that case, what I will get it, we will get the string towards left indent and the right space will be remain. And if in the case of L dot R strip, the string will be right indented and the left space will be remain, right? And let's say replace. So replace is nothing but it is going to replace the particular characters or particular, element. So let's say from this one, I'm going to replace, let's say I'm going to replace the M with, like, M with let's say small m, right? Small m. In this case, what will happen? It will return Mumbai because I'm going to replace capital M with small m. Let's say instead of M, I'm going to replace with T. It will be this one, right? So replace function will does, or you can say it will remove the any particular characters or the elements from the string, right? And it will replace with another element. Let's go to the next part, split and joining. So let's take it this part, split and joining. So in this case, what split and joining will does? So let me do it one thing. Let me create a string over here. And in this case, I'm writing India has 29. India has a 28 states and 28 states, and New Delhi is union states. Correct. So let's say this is my string. Now what I'm going to do is a dot split. Correct. If I'm going to use, so what we are getting, we are going to split the every single words from this string, and it is going to create into the, it will return us in the form of list. So India has 28 states and New Delhi is union states. So it is going to split the every single words into the every single words from the entire sentence, right? So let's say if I'm going to use R split, a dot R split, correct? In this case, what will happen? Sorry. So R split is nothing but, you can say that is, just put it over here. See, this is return a list of substring to a string using separator as a separate string, right? And max split is -1. Let's say I would like to split it from the right side. Okay. So in this case, what I'm going to use, like, let's say sep is 1, and again max split is -1, or we can say, so what will happen? It is going to, you can say that is, in this case, let's see, in this case what will happen? It is going to create a comma between every single words, and it is going to split by -1. -1 means it is, you can say that is, it is going to split with right. It is not going to split with left, it is going to split with right, and that is why we have written R split. Next is join. So let's say this is my, if I'm going to store into the C, let's say I'm going to store this one into the C, and now what we are going to do is we are going to join it. So this is all the split of the string, and now what I'm going to do is C dot, you can say that if I'm going to join this one with space, then what I'm going to do is join and join C, correct? So what we will get? India has, this is now we are going to again join this entire split and getting this string once again. Correct? So this is what about split, R split and join. Let's go to the next part. It is alignment. So in this case, I'm going to use, let's say, center L just and R just. So let me do it one thing. What I'm going to do is, let's say this time I'm going to create Delhi. And if I'm going to use A dot center, okay. Okay. So let's say if I'm going to use, so what it is going to do is, it is going to align this string, it is going to align this string by 5 space left and 5 space right. So you can say this number is nothing but a width, right? And return a center string to the length width. So padding is done using the specified field characters. Default is a space. So that means it is going to create a space and it is going to align this particular string with this 5 width, right? Similarly, if I'm going to use A dot I'll just, and again, if I'm going to create 4, so what will happen? So you can say left adjustment with the 4 width. And similarly, if I'm going to use A dot R just, so in this case, let's say 10. So you can say it is like, let's say this time I'm giving bigger number. So you can say this is R adjustment. So right aligned, and it is going to create this much width, right? So this is all about center L just or R just. Let's go to the next part, checking string start and ends with. So let me copy this one. And in this case, let me do it one thing. I'm going to write a sentence. Let's say Deepavali is the one of the Deepavali is one of the big festival for India. Correct? Deepavali is one of the big festival for India. So in this case, let's say I'm going to use start with. So A dot starts with, let's say I'm going to use Deepavali, right? And what should we get? We are getting true. So that means it is going to check, that is the particular sentence, particular word is going to start with those character or not, right? Similarly for ends with, A dot ends with, in this case I'm going to use India, correct? So it will return us true. Let's say I'm going to use Delhi. So it will return us false because it is not going to end with Delhi, right? So this is what about start with and ends with, correct? Next is encoding and decoding, and let's say encode and decode, right? So let me do it one thing. Let's say I have a word called hello, and if I would like to encode into the UTF-8, so A dot encode, and let's say UTF-8, correct? So what we'll get? We will get into the the binary form, And let's say I would like to decode this one. So I'm just copying this one. So let's say copying this one. And what I'm going to do is decode, okay, UTF-8, right? So what we'll get? Hello, right? So this is all about encode and decode. So one more thing is guys, formatting. I think I have not kept it over it. So format. So let me do it. One thing is, let's say I'm going to use this function, format function. So I'm going to use my name is, let's say I'm going to use my name is, and I am correct. In this case, what I'm going to use, format. For example, I'm going to use Amit, and in this case, I'm going to use, right? And let's execute it. So what we are getting, my name is Amit, I am 38-year-old. So let's say in this case, again, I'm going to copy this one. And let's say instead of, if I'm going to put 1, and this time I'm going to, let's say I'm going to put 0, and this time I'm going to put 1. So what will be the output? My name is Amit and I'm 38-year-old. So let's say instead of 0, I'm going to put it 1, and for this, I'm going to put 0. So what we are getting? So it is going to reverse this values. So what is happening? The value over here is into the order, 0 and 1. So according to that, it is going to fulfill, or it is going to fill up this values, right? So in this case, let's say if I'm going to copy again, once again, and this time what I'm going to use, if I'm going to use name and age, and in this case, I'm going to use name, and this time I'm going to use age, correct? And let's execute it. So it will again give us the same result. So this is all about formatting. So hope you have enjoyed this session, guys. So this is all about string functions. If you want to go through some more functions and want to learn more about these functions, what you can do is simply create a function and just press the dot and press the tab. You will get the list of those functions. For example, hello followed by dot followed by tab, and you will get all the list of the functions and you can explore it. So guys, these are the functions I covered because these are the most important functions and we can use very frequently into our programming and in our coming projects. So hope you have enjoyed this session, guys. If you have any queries, please write it down and I will try to respond it. So guys, we have a paid training as well as for data science, machine learning, Python, and visualizations tool like Power BI and Tableau. So if you go for the paid training, please fill up the form below and our team will be contact you. Thank you guys. Thank you once again.